All right, it is 11:02, so we are going to go ahead and get started. So, welcome everyone to the June 2026 Missouri Evergreen Cataloging Meeting. Um, as I say every month, this may be a short meeting. That's just, I feel like it's superstition at this point. We have to say it. Um, so we are going to jump right in. Another reminder though, if you have not put your name and library in the chat, please do. There's a cat running away from the meeting just now. Okay. So we're going to jump into cataloging discussion. We wanted to talk about the Z3950 targets a little bit. Um, can you all see my screen in Evergreen? So the Z3950 targets are when you go to import a record through Z3950. The ones listed over here, services and credentials, those are what are your targets for Z3950. The cataloging committee is going through and making sure the ones that are on there still work. You'll see that St. Louis County Library, there's a question about that one, and um, their credentials basically may have been changed, so we're checking on that one. But we are going through and kind of auditing the Z3950 targets. Um, that also means we are going through and we're gonna kind of take recommendations or look around for some more Z3950 targets that we think would be beneficial to have on the list. But we are doing that currently. So hopefully by the end of summer, um, but we won't take any off or add any without you knowing. There'll be an email and we'll talk about it at a meeting. So just be aware that we are looking into those. And if you have a suggestion for a Z3950 target that we don't currently have targeted for ours, please send us an email and we will look into it and see about getting it added. Oh, targets for media. We're specifically looking for targets that are good for things that aren't books. So DVDs, Blu-rays, audiobooks, media in general. Some targets are better for those than others, and we're specifically looking for ones that are good for media. So if you have any suggestions, please let us know. Any questions about targets and Z3950? I'm going to assume Sarah's monitoring the chat. Thank you,
Not
Sarah.
saying anything in there yet.
Sorry, I apologize again. I'm trying not to sniffle, but here we are. Okay, so this is where we're going to spend the bulk or remainder of the meeting discussing. We're going to talk about OCLC. Um, so for those of you who don't know, I don't know, maybe you were at the general meeting membership meeting, I can't talk, last week, or maybe you've had a discussion with your director, but what exactly is going on with OCLC? Um, So OCLC, obviously we know, right, that is a vendor for cataloging and metadata, like a utility. Um, MEC had gotten a bid from them a couple years ago when Steve Potter was here about how much it would cost to have everyone on OCLC, and it was an exorbitant amount of money, like $200,000 or something plus
50.
um, 250,000. Yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot of money. It was like just completely like, nope, absolutely not. We can't do that. Um, so that was not even a question at the time. OCLC has kind of come back and they are um, trying to enforce the rule that we cannot share the records in the consortium without everybody having a membership of Z39 or of OCLC subscription for Z3950. Basically, either all libraries would have to be subscribed or none of the libraries would have to be subscribed. Um, so this means the people who have an OCLC subscription in their Z3950, you can see mine here, they have an OCLC username and password. That's basically what we're talking about right now. If you have a subscription to OCLC, you have that built into your Z3950 and can search for records in their extensive database. So Colleen and Kate and Sarah and I have been talking with OCLC, and they are trying to get us all onto OCLC or everyone off of OCLC. So what this means is if you currently are an OCLC subscribing library, the next time you would go to renew, if we did not all decide to sign with OCLC, you would be kicked off. Um, so it would not happen all at one time, depends kind of when your contract with OCLC is up. But if we did not all sign up, eventually we would all kind of tick off as our contracts became, up for renewal. They would not renew anyone in Missouri Evergreen. Um, so what does that mean for you guys? Let's talk about that first. For right now, um, right at this second, and until we like kind of everybody makes a decision until like September, nothing is happening right this second. Right this second, we are kind of holding fast. If you have OCLC, you can use OCLC. If you don't have OCLC, you're not using it anyway. Um, so for right now, nothing. What this could mean in the future, though, is that libraries who currently have OCLC, if we renew, everyone would have it. Hooray, everybody would have credentials in D3950, whatever. We'd all be able to bring in records from there.
Liz,
Um, mhm.
Darcy is asking what service of OCLC we're talking about. It's the metadata, so it's
It's
not the
specifically
ILL.
specifically cataloging and metadata. So that is completely different from your ILL subscription, which a lot of you get subsidized through the state library. It's completely different. Whole other ball game than
Okay,
ILL.
we have somehow we have a login to First Search that we use when I use Z3950, but we do not actually do ILL anymore.
So that probably means that OCLC
Just
never
doesn't
really
know.
shut you off. Yes, basically they don't know
Okay.
you don't have a contract, they don't know that you're not technically shut off.
We do pay for WebDewey.
It's not, yeah, not the same thing. WebDewey is a third other thing.
Okay, all
So
right.
So you don't have a contract right now if you don't do ILL, but you still have the login and it works. This is where how many people are in this meeting? We say, everybody, it's a secret. We don't, there's like 60 some odd people in this meeting. Shh, they
The
don't need to
circle of
know
trust.
the
Yes, the
circle of
circle of
cataloging trust.
trust.
They don't need to know Darcy is still able to pull those things with her credentials when she does not technically have a subscription at her library. But ILL and cataloging and metadata are two different things. So this would not affect your ILL at all. Um, this is just those V3950 targets and where we are getting records. And as I said, if the consortium as a whole does not decide to get an OCLC subscription, eventually the people using OCLC will not be able to, and we would have to rely solely on Z3950. Um, Now, we have looked into other vendors or utilities, and unfortunately, there just aren't any. We were hoping Sky River would be viable. Sky River is not accepting new clients or signing new contracts, or we're not really exactly sure what's happening with Sky River. Um, so that's not an option. And specifically, the other one we looked at was Bookware. Um, so like Bookwhere, not like werewolf. That's what I thought at first because that would be funny. But and they are really more of just an aggregate of Z3950s, which is basically what we already have built into the catalog. You would consider this interface like an aggregate where you could add and look at different Z3950s. So that's kind of the backstory. We're talking about this here in cataloging today because, well, as the catalogers in MEC, we're kind of the experts. Um, so that means your directors, people from your library who are going to be making this decision, because this decision will go to a membership vote, whether or not we take an OCLC contract. I believe in a couple weeks, Colleen will be sending out like a questionnaire, basically a poll to the library directors, and each library gets one vote. So your library director may not be the one who this would affect, or maybe they have questions. You need to be aware of this so that they ask you questions, you can answer questions. Okay?
Hey, Liz,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm a library in Missouri that does not have OCLC and has never had OCLC, why should I care about this?
Well, the thing is that the libraries with OCLC generally are the bigger ones, right? Because they have a bigger budget, and OCLC is expensive. But really, everyone is using these OCLC records. Um, like to put this in perspective, like we were thinking, oh, maybe Sky River would be comparable. Sky River has about 70 million records. OCLC has about 610 million records from their database. So the likelihood of us finding records there when we can't find them in Z3950 is very high. So, for example, I had somebody reach out, and because I always offer, hey, guys, before you make an original record, because it takes a long time, reach out to me and I'll look in OCLC. I had somebody do that last week or the week before. It's all become a blur at this point. And they asked me about 16 different records that they could not find in Z3950. And I was able to find 13 of them in OCLC. So that cut down on that cataloger then having to only make 3 original book records instead of 16 original book records. And we all kind of know how long it takes to create original records. And, books being the easier records we have to create. That's not even thinking about like media or DVDs or whatever. So this is kind of, even if you don't specifically have a current subscription to OCLC, even if you've never had it, you are 100% reaping the benefits of the other catalogers and myself having OCLC. So that is something to keep in mind.
Liz, Heather is asking if any of the other libraries are using bookware.
No,
I'm just curious because a couple of the MLC libraries do, so I was just curious.
no, that you were the only ones. And when I talked to Karen, she was like, kind of, sort of, not really.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's actually being used by any MLC libraries actually.
Mhm.
It definitely is. Yeah.
You guys use it. So we went
Right.
to,
Yeah.
and we went to what is the word I'm looking for? I've lost my
Like a
word. Like a
demo.
demo. There we go. A demo of bookware. And it's not the same. I mean, it's fine for what it is, but it's really no different than what we have built in to Missouri Evergreen. If we were to adjust our targets, that's what really, it's all about your targets.
Yeah. I think the idea is that the bookware libraries get paid for their mark. They
Yes.
probably get paid like a fraction of a penny per like 1,000 mark that they contribute, but theoretically they're not available for free, and that's all theoretical.
Theoretically, which is actually how OCLC used to have their pricing. If anyone has had OCLC for a really long time, their pricing used to be completely different. And it was kind of based on how much you used OCLC, but how many also records you were creating and putting into the database. So that makes sense for bookware, honestly. But yeah.
Also, can I, in response to Kate's question, as a library that totally pays for OCLC, when I use Z3950, like 99 times out of 100, those are the records I choose that I have to do the least with. They're almost
Yes.
always the best record.
Yes, that's the thing with OCLC because it is used worldwide and so many people are touching those records. They just because of how it is set up, it operates like they are generally the better records. They have been seen by more people have edited them and put them up to standard. Whereas these smaller like bookware utilities, other things, maybe not. One of the probably the most troubling thing to me personally is that I would like to say, that we don't need OCLC in MEC. I would love to say that, right? Because, you know, but at this time, with the way Z3950s are and OCLC is, they are targeting other consortium, and they have mentioned going after people with their Z3950s open. So the Z3950 targets we have now, we can't even necessarily say those will stay there and stay available to us. Yeah. So basically, OCLC came back and after talking with Colleen and Kate and Sarah and I, whatever, they offered first year was at $95,000 for everyone to have full access to OCLC, which is on the one hand a ton of money, but on the other hand, I hate to say it, it is kind of a good deal considering what OCLC priced us at the first time And secondly, that this includes like full cataloging and metadata. So it's not small library edition. It is the full thing. It is the suite. You could use Connection Client if you so choose. Um,
Is
but that
Carol,
is,
sorry, Carol is saying
mhm.
she used OCLC World Share for DUI numbers, subjects, etc. For instances when the Z3950 doesn't have complete records. Also great for original cataloging.
Yes.
I'm also finding it interesting how many libraries we're actually finding out actually have access to OCLC, are using it, and are not paying for it, yet they are getting all of the benefits of it, which is
Yes.
fine. I totally support this. I
I
do.
I just
But
looked up I
but it
just looked
kind
up
of speaks to the fact that we use it. A lot of us use it.
I just looked up our quote from 3 years ago because I looked at getting it at CAS and I thought it was 15, it was 12,000. So
Hmm.
the 1,500 at the high end of Colleen's spreadsheet would be getting us a great deal. Just throwing that
So
out there.
um, we just wanted to let you guys know what is kind of going on. You'll see here the cost breakdown that is attached in the agenda. This, Colleen has made this of how do we, you know, if the consortium votes to continue to have OCLC and everybody has OCLC, how do we break down this cost across, 80 whatever libraries we are? Um, and so there are, you'll see over here at the very left side, the libraries highlighted in blue are the ones that actually currently have an OCLC subscription. And so there's about 20, 18, 20 right now. I didn't count them this morning. Libraries that currently subscribe. Um, and you would see the fee structure. Um, this one is based on income and current OCLC members paying 50%. So it would be like still a discount for them. Um,
So actually, sorry, Liz, none of these are based on income. It's all just this is just across the board. This is what you'll pay. Oh, I'm sorry. It's based on income by
yeah.
a bracket. Sorry.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, it's based on bracket. So, say you have a library with a budget under $100,000, the fee would be $50. Obviously goes up from there. We have all size member libraries in Missouri Evergreen, um, up to 3 million here. You'd have 1,500 here, 1,000 here. Um, so we just wanted to really make you guys aware of what is going on, um, so that you have all the information you need when and if, because your directors are probably going to ask you about OCLC, what's going on, how would this affect you? Give me your take on it. We want you to have all the information that we have so that you can, give your professional opinions to your directors. Does that make sense?
Liz,
Mm-hmm.
one thing I'd like to mention is that I included what the annual fee would be if we divide it out like we do a lot of our cost sharing. So if we divided it strictly by income and not these brackets, and what the cost would be is in column D.
Okay.
So
This white
that
one.
would be your annual fee. And then fee structure 1 and 2 are two different ways of handling the annual fee. So the current, it's like fee structure 2, the OCLC current members would either pay a 50% discount or this annual fee that comes up in D. So like Adair County would pay $792, and in fee structure 1, they would pay $3,631 in fee structure 1, because that's strictly 50%.
Mm-hmm.
It got complicated real quick.
Yeah, everything, because there's so many of us, everything gets complicated very quickly. Um, but if you are an OCLC subscribing library, your fee would generally go down. Obviously, if you're not subscribing to OCLC currently, you would have some kind of fee, whether that is, based on what price structure would get voted in and, what your total income at your library is.
There have to be some questions. Let's have them, everybody.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
I know we have said, this isn't going to just happen right away. But like, what would be a vague idea of when we're looking at? Because I was just thinking forward to like fiscal years and budgets and things.
So we have to have a decision back to OCLC by September. That is our deadline, MEC in general for what we're going to do. And then I can't even say when your guys' budgets are. Are they coming up in December? Are they coming, did they just happen? It depends on your library.
Actually, I can answer this one, Liz.
Okay.
What would happen is if we entered this contract with OCLC, every library would get their own OCLC logins. And current subscribers would then get a credit on anything that they would get refunded back, any money that they had spent from September of their current year's subscription from September 1st to whenever their subscription ends, whether that's January, March, June, because everybody's on different fiscal years. So this would actually go, if it passes, would be included in the fiscal year 27 bills that go out in September. But you would then be getting a credit for your individual libraries for what they have paid from OCLC.
And if you're a current member and this does not pass, that means that you can use OCLC up until your current contract is up, and then OCLC will refuse to renew your contract.
Yeah, so we have some people that have said they just renewed for next year, so they would be able to use it this year until it falls off. I think it was in July that theirs would, not be able to be renewed anymore. So that kind of depends on the library.
So you said that in the beginning that what was the original quote and what's the quote now?
Oh, so when we originally, Steve and I and Kate asked OCLC, was this 2 years ago, guys? A year and a half ago? Everything blurs together. It was about 250,000. So the quote now is 95. That's why I hate to say
August, even in February, they came up with a quote of 140, and we told them it wasn't doable at 140,000. So they came up with this new way.
So they are working with us.
There's actually a question in chat for Colleen. It says, is there any way to pull a report that shows how many records are being used from OCLC? I am concerned many of the library directors don't realize how many records are coming from OCLC from other libraries. Something like 10,000 records were added this year, and 9,000 of those records were from OCLC.
I have reached out to Equinox to help me with that. Just to see, I can't even tell how many bib records were added to the records that didn't include migrations and didn't include the dedupe. So we couldn't figure out a way to get to even how many records were added that didn't include all of that, because we had 4 migrations this year. And so right now the answer is I can't find a report that does that, and neither can Equinox.
I would also like to say that, so even if, like, for instance, my library, we put in, a lot of bib records every month. And we do get our marks from vendors. We get vendor marks, but I would say 80% of those we overlay with OCLC records because they're not good. So all of the records that you guys are adding your holdings to, because one of us on order libraries have already put it in, our workflow is generally to overlay them with OCLC records. So the records that you guys are adding holdings to, even if we didn't download them directly from OCLC, we did most likely overlay them with an OCLC record. Now I can see, as an OCLC member, I can go to my statistics and I can see how many, records that I've downloaded for a month or whatever, however long. And I'll just say that our library, as one of the bigger libraries in Missouri Evergreen, that does put on order bibs in, we have thousands and thousands, probably between 700 and 1,000 OCLC downloads a month. And then so per 6 months, it's, you can extrapolate from there. But so even if we aren't directly downloading them from OCLC, they're being touched with OCLC bibs, supplemented with them. Yeah, Sarah, who is Sarah Gockley from St. Joseph, she's another one of the larger libraries that puts on orders in. That again, so many of our libraries have the opportunity to simply place their holding on because it's already there. It's their practice as well to just overlay them with OCLC records.
We have any other questions, guys? I know this is a lot of information, and it's kind of a lot of sucky information, honestly. This isn't how we want to be, but here we are.
So I think as the catalogers of Missouri Evergreen, it is the recommendation of the committee for sure that you encourage your directors to vote for this. We of course can't tell anybody what to do, and we're voting because we have a democratic process here. But if you get approached by your director, try to explain to them that even if you don't currently use OCLC, I think any cataloger here, a director might not understand this, but catalogers that are here absolutely will understand this, that even if your library doesn't currently subscribe to OCLC, you are benefiting from OCLC, whether it's the libraries that are putting the bibs in using OCLC, or if it's Liz that you're depending on. If Liz has helped you with any cataloging in the past 3 years, she has 100% used OCLC on that.
Liz, does this impact the Z3950? Is this kind of going hand in hand with the Z3950 issues and this?
We're not having issues as of yet, but we
Right.
are auditing the Z3950s to kind of get ahead of it, because basically OCLC said that was kind of the next thing they wanted to do, is like stop other libraries from having open Z3950s. So it's because of that, but we haven't seen any of that as of yet, but we're trying to work around it preemptively.
Plan
So
ahead.
that there are still good records to be found in Z3950.
Okay. Yeah, because our small library, that's what we use if like there's a
Yes.
record doesn't already exist. And yeah, if that's it would be, but then OCLC would be something new we'd have to learn how to use. So
Yes.
either way, there's training to be
Yes.
had.
So what would happen? Okay, let's say it got voted in and we were having OCLC for 3 years, it doesn't matter. What would happen then is that everybody in the Z3950 would have a username and a password here, and it would just be another place you could pull Z3950 records from. And like with mine, I generally only look at OCLC unless I can't find that record, because it's the place it just has because of its nature, it has the best records. So there would not be as much, there'd be minimal training on using it for Z3950. However, the full cataloging utility does give everyone access to Connection Client, which is through OCLC, which is a very powerful cataloging tool, which if people were then interested in, I would do trainings on that.
Liz, can I ask you, it's been a long time since we've used Connection. Would that replace WebDewey? I mean, does it have that kind of functionality in it, or do we need
So
to?
here's the thing. OCLC is a business monster. How I
Sure.
like to refer to them. And they also own WebDewey. So you have to have OCLC would not include WebDewey. It's still a separate subscription to have WebDewey. It is built in the fact that if you're in Connection Client, there's an easy button to push and it takes you directly to WebDewey. But they are, because it's OCLC, two separate things you would still have to subscribe to.
Okay, and that's fine. I just wanted to make sure I knew what I was talking about in
Yes.
regards to what we're getting versus what we need to keep.
Yes. So if it comes down and this is voted no on, and you could not have OCLC cataloging metadata, that's not to say you could not have OCLC WebDewey. As far as I know, that's not to say you couldn't have OCLC WebDewey.
And I also want to reiterate, this would not change one way or the other. It would not change your interlibrary loan if you are currently getting OCLC interlibrary loan.
Yes.
I thought we'd have way more questions, everyone.
I think everyone may be in shock, which is fair.
Well, it's better than all the hundreds of questions we got at the general membership meeting.
So Carol asked, did MEC pay for the 250,000 this past year? No, we didn't.
No, no.
Now it would be 95,000. No, the
When we were-
individual libraries had their subscriptions, but MEC wasn't paying anything.
Yes, when we were quoted $250,000 the first time it was talked about, we completely dismissed that outright. There's no way. That is outrageous. There's no way we could pay that. So MEC has not at any point paid for OCLC cataloging and metadata as of yet. This is what the question is, should we? And what it looks like if we do going forward.
So
as a point of reference for Equinox to host, support, do the tickets, do the all the stuff that Equinox does is less than 250,000.
Y'all, that's insane.
Mm-hmm.
None of us are sitting here saying that we like OCLC and we want to do business with them. That is not what anyone, I think you could ask any individual cataloger, but they are kind of a necessary evil in the library world. There is no one that can compete with them, partly because they have been around so long. They are a worldwide kind of thing. And secondly, because they are very litigious.
Krista asked a question, and I think Heather kind of covered it, but would this vote only cover starting this now and then need to be voted on again next year? And one of the options is a 3-year contract. So
Colleen, you want to cover that?
Yeah, when I send it out to vote for the directors, I will ask, should we sign the contract? And then should we sign a 1-year contract or a 3-year? If we sign a 3-year contract, we are guaranteed at least just a 3% increase. If we sign a 1% increase, if we sign a 1-year contract, we can get out of it, but we don't after 1 year, but we have no idea what it would be the next year. And my guess is it would be a lot more than the 3%. So they will be voting on, do they want it? A 1 or 3-year contract, and which fee structure.
So the committee would recommend that we recommend a 3-year?
Yeah, just so it's kind of a known quantity and we can plan. That I think that would be our recommendation.
I would like to say that yes, just and take a 1 year, but I don't know what 1 year is going to look like.
Mm-hmm.
And it's taken us this long to figure this out. So,
Okay.
And there's my emotional response, which is to tell them to kick rocks, but
yes.
there's my practical response, which is
Yes.
they're the only game in town, and that's why they know they can get away with it. So
Sarah, you are not alone. Everyone that has been involved with this has felt the same, and yeah, so I get it.
I'm
Kick
trying
rocks
to
is a really
focus on
polite way to say it.
right. That's my yeah, work appropriate.
Yeah,
But
there were a few inappropriate ones that came out in the general membership, what we should tell them, but we get it.
I mean, whether now or in the future or in 3 years, it is a dream of mine that catalogers from consortia like ours can join together with other consortia who also can't afford OCLC to make a little cataloging army of their own, because we are all certainly being exploited. And I just have a hard time believing that our trained catalogers plus the trained catalogers from Pines and Pales can't come together to make records that are as good if we work together.
Pines and Pales both have OCLC.
Yes. So other consortium that are like
and they're paying
ours,
out the nose for it, is all I'm
yes.
saying.
Other consortiums like ours have also been approached by OCLC, and they basically have, if can't pay for OCLC, none of them use OCLC, or some of them actually are run completely by their state library, and so their state library is able to pay for that for them. We are not in that kind of situation in Missouri. But it's not just us OCLC is going after. It is everyone.
At the same time, they approached us way back in the back when I first started, until a year ago. They also approached the state library, bundling it with their ILL contract. The state library said they just did not have the money without deeply going into the contract, the Evergreen grant that we get. And to be honest, they were quoted a higher price than what we have been quoted.
Yeah, the state library very much supports Missouri Evergreen in other ways. So
Yes.
no disparaging them that they can't afford to pay our OCLC subscriptions, because
No.
they support our hosting fees with Equinox.
Yes, this is not a knock on them. It is just not how Missouri Evergreen and our consortium is set up compared to other large library consortium. We're not the same.
Yeah, I just wanted to be sure nobody was knocking the state library, because
No.
they are very generous with their grants for us and our migrating libraries.
Absolutely. We could not be us without them, but any other questions, comments, guys?
Christy asks, would you go over the billing columns if we keep OCLC, for example, a library currently without OCLC with a budget between 100,000 to 300,000 would pay only 100 extra a year. But what is the difference between option 1 and option 2 if the cost is the same? Am I reading it correctly?
You are reading it correct. There are two things that are different about fee structure 1 and fee structure 2. Fee structure 1 has MEC paying less the cost, because the OCLC subscribers would be paying more. Fee structure 2 has the bigger libraries and OCLC subscribers pay. Wait a minute. Fee structure 1 has them paying. OCLC subscribers are currently paying more. Fee structure 2, the OCLC subscribers are by and large paying less, and Missouri Evergreen is covering more of the cost. So it's not going to the membership. Ultimately, either way, it comes out of membership fees. But what we are using is a little bit of our surpluses from this year to be able to cover the cost for 3 years. Now, after 3 years, I don't know what would happen, because I don't know what the cost will be. I do not know if Missouri if the consortium would have surplus to be able to do this, or where we will be in 3 years. But yes, they're essentially the same for the smaller libraries. Hang on, I'm seeing am I missing something? Yes, in fee structure 1, for some reason, there is a $1,500 in the column G, the 3rd line down. And yeah, that's right. That's right. Barry Lawrence would be paying $1,500. And in column fee structure 2, Barry Lawrence would only be paying $1,000. Where you'll see the big differences are really with the OCLC current subscribers, because there is no rhyme or reason to the way OCLC charges. So they got a 50% discount, or if we rated it by income, which means we charge everybody everything, they would pay the lesser of the two. That really addresses some of the inequities we were seeing with the OCLC pricing, mainly with Adair. Adair was paying twice of what some of the other libraries were paying, and it didn't make sense based on their income to charge them that. So that's what the difference between the two columns is.
So current OCLC subscribers have essentially been, I mean, for lack of a better word, supporting Missouri Evergreen with OCLC records.
And price gouged.
Right. So with either of these price structures, the OCLC libraries are still paying more than everyone else. But most of us also recognize the fact that it would be to the detriment of Evergreen if we lost it, and we are willing to continue paying more than everyone else.
So, Kate, I have a question on that. So what's to stop? Okay, so I spend about $3,000 a year on OCLC right now. If we go and we do fee structure 1 or 2, it doesn't matter. I'm going to be paying about $1,500. Well, if I decide to drop OCLC, I'm only going to be paying $1,000. So, I mean, I'll keep OCLC because, I mean, I completely agree with everything you're saying. But what's to stop some of these libraries from just dropping OCLC and then going back and paying? I mean, is there going to be any kind of I mean, besides just we're all good people here, is there anything else that's going to stop it? Because I can see a lot of people looking at it that way. I mean, if I was Jefferson City, I don't know if they're on I'd immediately do that if I was paying as much as they were doing.
It's definitely something we've thought about because, yeah, if I am a current OCLC member, but I'm paying $8,000 when I could actually only be paying $1,500 if I weren't an original subscriber, is that fair? I mean, none of this has ever been fair. The bigger libraries, always pay more, but it's not something we have made a policy about yet, or, haven't addressed. Currently, we're kind of going with what you said, we are good people. we think that this, and honestly, the fee structure as it is now is going to be voted on. So they would have, this is what they would be required to pay Missouri Evergreen for the next 3 years, regardless of if they kind of wanted to or not, because that's part of being in Missouri Evergreen is paying the fees. So once that 3 years is up, we would probably cross that bridge when we came to it, but it's definitely something we've thought about, Rachel.
I'm concerned.
I do understand your concern. And when we were looking at this, Rachel, we were looking at, well, if we were trying to find something that would pass the membership and be a little bit more fair to the libraries that are currently having OCLC subscriptions. Mm-hmm. So if you were paying, if we charged it completely fair by income, can you scroll down a little, Dixie? If you were paying it strictly by income, you'd be paying $2,093. Mm-hmm. So you are getting the less of that amount, which would be half of what you're currently paying at $1,509. Mm-hmm. I realize, no, that is not fair because you would be up at the 1,000 or 750 depending on your library.
Mhm.
We realize that's not fair.
Mhm.
But it was only if we charged what was in column D,
Mhm.
and you would have libraries like Cass, go up to Cass. You would have Cass all of a sudden owing $6,670 when they have never paid a single cent for OCLC. That was not going to pass membership.
Yeah.
It was
No, I
never going
get
to
you.
pass a vote.
Mhm.
So we were trying to balance two things
Mhm.
and not having OCLC having a structure, a fee structure that was based on anything that we could make heads or tails of.
Mhm.
This was the best we could come up with.
Yeah.
I also
And
think that this is a good reason for us to try to do 3-year, because we really do intend on trying to come up with alternate solutions or a more equitable solution, or something like that. We do have plans to try to do that while we're in this contract with OCLC. Does that mean in 3 years we're going to have an alternate answer that that's going to be the greatest thing ever? Who knows? But we'll at least have time to try to figure it out.
Carol is asking, do you see a future of St. Louis City County and St. Charles County coming on board with MEC? I would say no, but I wish, but I don't think so.
Yeah,
yeah,
Missouri Evergreen has kind of always said we're probably never going to get the big seven in Missouri. But there are other larger libraries that could definitely look at Missouri Evergreen. And that was one of the points we told the directors as well, was there's no large library system that would consider Missouri Evergreen if we did not have some kind of cataloging utility. They would kind of laugh in our face.
Heather is asking who are the larger ones that we think we might be able to snag.
Well, let's see. I had a list. Joplin,
possibly Christian County once they get settled again.
yeah, I'd have to dig and find that list, but there's a list of, I mean, we, as you guys know, we have libraries of all sizes, but getting the larger libraries is kind of what really helps sustain Missouri Evergreen. Yeah, Springfield Green is one of the big seven.
Yeah, there's no way. But as I've said from the beginning, we kind of need some of the mid larger libraries, but the smaller libraries need us. So we have to migrate a combination of that. And I think MLC was the perfect microcosm of that. You had things that had libraries that were larger, libraries that were smaller, that all came together and migrated. So in a lot of ways, that's what Missouri Evergreen is. We need both.
I know we've talked a lot at you this meeting, but we still do have like 10 minutes left. If anybody has any questions or comments, please, please air your grievances.
Well, my experience being a library that's lost it recently, I miss it. So this looks sweet to me. So I hope it passes.
Rachel says, I honestly think, I guess it's Daniel Boone Regional might be a possibility, not now, but Robin is a big believer of Evergreen and knows the positives of the consortium. Jeff City joining will help too.
I've talked to Robin about this a couple times. I've gently hinted she needs to become. And if you were at the user conference, one of the things she said in her introductory remarks is, no, Colleen, I'm not joining. I'm not migrating.
But can
We're
we
going to work on her though.
Christy says, as a director and a cataloger, I see how this will be really hard on us if we join OCLC, so I hope it passes.
Okay, last call for questions or comments, guys. If you think of something after the meeting ends, please feel free to, email Colleen, the cataloging committee, me. We are happy to answer your questions or your director's questions or whatever to the best of our ability. So this is not the end of when you can ask questions in general, but we do have to have a last call at some point. So
Christy just corrected. She said she meant if we don't join OCLC, but I think we all knew what she meant. Thanks.
okay, this is kind of the reason this was really the only thing on the agenda today. We have almost gone the full hour talking about OCLC. They should be paying us for how many times we say their name. So, final reminder to please put your name and library in the chat so that I can take attendance later. And if you have no more questions, we will field any more questions that you have offline. Okay, the next cataloging meeting will be July 13th at 11 a.m. And we will see you all there. Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone.